First of all, I always loved the Japanese designers, and I defended them when it was. There were two gangs in Paris after the shows of Yohji and Ray. People were fighting outside, but almost with fists. So I arrived at the Comme des Garçons show. Some people hated it and some people loved it. And I see Yohji Yamamoto. And that day I was wearing a black velvet hat, very beautiful, big black velvet hat. And as you know, then after, on the future, you know how Yohji Yamamoto loved hats for women. He says it's a ceiling to protect them. Always, Vogue was before Colin Pringle and myself arriving. There were nothing on those designers which changed the rule of fashion. When they came in '81, it was suddenly like a shock. You know, after the black of Saint Laurent, we have the black of Japan, which was completely different. And suddenly he tells me, I wanted to thank you for everything you did for me in your editorials. And suddenly he tells me, and that was like a sort of a bomb, you know, would you ever work for me? And I was like a statue of stone. And I said to him, but what would you like me to do for you? I mean, I could not answer. And he answered me, my translation. And for 22 years, that's exactly what I did. I translated Yohji Yamamoto to make him understood by the Occidental world. So I realized that when a designer is a real artist, because I don't think fashion is art, not at all, because a real designer does not need any advice through the process of creation. And it was very strange the way we were working together, because Yohji was sitting on my right, I was sitting, let's say, here. There was a big table in the back. The models were going through the showroom. All the assistants, they never sit, never. They all stand, you know, with their black t-shirts, etc. Because there is a very special way to organize the show. Everything is on the floor. The runway is organized flat on the floor. When I began, he was again on a very enthusiastic trip about fashion, because those designers are so much sensitive to what is happening in the world, in the fashion world, in the editors and the way they are understood and the way they are. And Yohji was very sensitive to it. He began really to go in a very optimistic and fantastic way, and there were about 10 years of extraordinary collection, including the one about the wedding, which was amazing. People were standing, shouting, screaming, and it was a collection where André Léon Tallet did the groom, and that, what was the name of that model? I will find it after. Did sort of a striptease, and at the end, I mean, before she takes away the last dress, poof, the light becomes black. I mean, it was fantastic. It was the last collection of a week in New York, a week in London. Italy, I think, was before. Well, I don't remember, but anyway, it was the last collection of the week, and people were so enthusiastic. And Yohji and the staff became like my family. But each time For more than 20 years, the collection was unpacked. I was surprised. When I saw it on the racks, I said to myself, but how do they do it? How do they do it? It was so complicated at the same time, so simple, and each time someone says, oh, Yohji is so zen. I said, well, you never looked at his clothes, and you never looked at the inside of the clothes. There is not a person more complicated than him, maybe Ray Kawakubo, because you know that they had this affair for 10 years. They were together, and they were presenting in Paris, one at 12 o'clock and one at 2 o'clock. So these times were unbelievable of excitement. It's the workmanship, it's the hands. I saw Yohji getting near to a girl with an outfit, and suddenly, taking something, doing like this, it was perfect. His sense of proportion, the sense of the proportion of a woman, because for him, in Japan, the back of women is very important. So he was always calculating in the model the length between the middle of the back and the beginning of the hips. What can I say? I can say that Yohji is one of the most important designers of these last 30 years, because he changed. All the Belgian designers, are the sons and daughters of the Japanese designers. And I think he opened with Kawakubo a path that it was possible suddenly to do things they would have never maybe dared to do. People like Dries Van Noten, like André Lemeister, like Margiela, like today Raf Simons, which is a wonderful designer. And all those people, I am sure if one asks them, who are your father and mother in fashion, would say Ray and Yohji. And I have the feeling that Yohji does not believe in fashion anymore. I know he's still able to surprise us all. But the creative drive was to go against. He was punk in the real sense of the word, and also punk really breaking the rules. Women had suits, white shirts, flat shoes, but his driving creative process was rock and roll. Punk, rock and roll, and against. And when they ask him black, why black? He says, not again. Because black for him is absolutely not the color of mourning, is absolutely not sad. In the black you have all the colors. So black is a way to be, he used to say, arrogant, shy, and to say to people, I am very quiet, leave me alone.